Well, there's a couple of things. We think in the short term, and that is the next year to 3 years, there will be a reduction in overall travel demand. So airlines like Air New Zealand, like Qantas, like Delta, like American Airlines and United, etc. Most airlines will be smaller because they'll be catering for a smaller available market, so less people available to travel, one, because of restrictions, but also secondly because of the global economic recession. So there'll be less people willing to spend that money on travel. So there's a couple of considerations. We do think that incrementally countries will open their borders. So there's been quite a lot of talk about New Zealand and Australia connecting to form a travel bubble. We think that's a very valid possibility in the short to medium term. And then we think over time, if that's successful, the Pacific Islands could be included in that bubble. Then in the medium to long term, more long-haul destinations, as they seek to get the virus under control, will open up, because tourism is a very important part of most countries' economy and their earnings. So there's a big incentive to get tourists traveling around the world again. So whilst we think in the short term there's going to be some challenges with demand and volume, we think in the medium to long term the travel industry is still well positioned to grow into the future. So you should have confidence if you are training to be a tourism worker or a flight attendant or in any component of the industry, that there is a vibrant future whilst we're through this. Yeah, we believe that some borders will be closed for a pretty lengthy amount of time. The way we manage it with our staff overseas is usually they do what we call a TOD, or a tour over duty. So they might get to LA and they have flexibility to go out and, maybe go for a run, exercise, whatever it may be. Under the current constraints, whilst they don't have to be forced into quarantine when they get back to New Zealand, we do have very strict parameters when they're in market to make sure they go straight to their hotel room and they don't connect with anyone else. So there's some pretty demanding requirements now on crew when they're offshore. We try and keep them offshore for the shortest amount of time possible, and when they are offshore, they're literally confined to their hotel room. In terms of our marketing strategy, that will be pivoting to domestic tourism. New Zealand's got a tremendous amount to offer other Kiwis actually, and a lot of Kiwis have been experiencing the world, but we think whether it's Whangarei, whether it's Rotorua, whether it's Taupo, whether it's Wellington, or whether it's Queenstown, we think there's an awful lot to offer, and we'll be actively promoting that through our social channels, our digital channels, and all the marketing resources we have. So we want to keep people moving around the country. One is to underpin the tourism industry, but two, we just think there's a lot of great product to offer all our customers in New Zealand. So we're actually pretty excited about that opportunity. Well, in some ways, it's a little bit of a benefit if you are studying now, because we are right in the downturn at the moment. So, it's pretty hard to imagine the tourism or airline industry getting any worse than it is today. I think we're flying about 2% of our normal capacity. So, whilst it's pretty awful at the moment in terms of having, 80 odd planes on the ground, we think we will bounce back, and we maybe not bounce back in the next year, 2 or 3 years to what we were, but in the medium to long term, we think there's a vibrant industry, and we think you should go into your studies with a degree of confidence that this industry will rebound, because it's very resilient. It's been through setbacks before, whether it's SARS, whether it's 9/11, whether it's airline collapses. So it's a very resilient industry with people working in the industry who know how to deal with setbacks, and this is probably the biggest setback that the aviation and travel industry has ever faced. But I'm very confident that the resilient people in this industry can come again and bounce back after this. We think firstly there's a big opportunity for domestic tourism. We also think we can pivot to higher value tourism. And I also appreciate that there's been a focus on sustainability, and this may be an opportunity for us to really focus on a sustainable tourism industry, which is ready for the future in a way which will add more value to the New Zealand economy as well as to the tourism industry. So we think out of this massive change, there will be some consolidation. There will be people who are very, very focused on a smaller number of consumers. And whilst it is a pretty, as I say, awful time, this does bring to life some many more opportunities. So we are on the lookout for those opportunities. There might be new places we fly to, places that don't have the virus, or potentially we will target a different market segment. So those are the things we're thinking about at the moment in terms of how we reposition the business, how we make it viable for the future, and how do we focus on those new pockets of growth. And that is, I think, going to be more short haul, more sustainable tourism, a more health focused outcome for everyone. I think that's going to be a underlying reality for everyone in aviation, that the health concerns of anyone flying on a tube from A to B have to be well and truly considered. So quite a few opportunities for us and challenges as we sit here, but hopefully you'll be confident about your studies and confident that there is a future in tourism and aviation. Thank you.